Hi everyone, it's Peter here from the Pain Toolkit, and good evening to you from a very, very grey and miserable Sunday evening from the UK. But what's really brightened me up is to see my buddy from Canada, Keith Meldrum. Have I said it right?
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it right. Yep. It's a good Scottish name, Pete. Good Scottish name.
Good Scottish name, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, hi Keith, it's good to see you again, man, you know, so do you want to say hello to the folks?
Hi, everyone. It's a beautiful, sunny but cool day here in Kelowna, British Columbia, and always a joy to talk to you, Pete.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I know we knew a little bit of each other on social media before we met up in Boston at the IASP Pain Congress. But when we sort of met in Boston and with Joe Belton and a few of the other dudes there that were with the patient group, etc. Like, you know, but
yeah,
it was like we was all. It's like being, I'd say separated at birth is probably a bit strong, but there was definitely a connection there with all three of us, you know, all on similar paths, and I think that came through when we was doing the workshops. So, but Keith, I thought it'd be useful to. It's been quite a few weeks now. How many weeks ago was it we was in Boston? I can't remember.
It's pretty much a month. Yeah, it was. I know I flew in on September 11th, and the Congress was the 12th through the 15th, so it's been a month. Yeah.
And we've sort of been talking to each other on social media, etc. since then. And I think for all of us, really, there was so much went on there. So many people we met or talked to, etc. You know, there was tons to sort of digest, and it was really, you know, and I really thought, well, let's give it a couple of weeks to see what we think about it, what went on, and all that, and just a little bit of a review now. So that's what the idea of this catch up is. So, Keith, what about? Can you sort of give us some sort of reflections on, you know, the Congress and what happened, etc. I mean, just thoughts. I mean, for me personally, I'm still trying to chunk it out in my brain, really, you know, stuff that went on. But so, you know, what have you been thinking about it?
A couple of main things that I took out of this, Pete, and to support what you said, meeting everybody was almost like a family reunion in a way, people you haven't seen in a long time, and then instantly reconnect with. I took so much out of going to your presentation and Joe's. It just really, and even though I think over the last few years, 10 years or so, I've started to learn that, you know, I wasn't alone as a patient in this world. Just to see, you know, your talk and to hear it in Joe's, it just really sort of connected and made me realize that our stories were very, while unique, there's a lot of similarities to it. And it just really made me connect to you guys even more. And then to see the number of different clinicians, some of which I know we've connected with over social media, and just the efforts that they're making was really quite empowering. But it really brought home that there's still that gap, that huge gap between what's happening in research and medicine and to the patient. But it gave me hope. I mean, it gave me hope there's a movement going forward in sort of the medical world, but they just haven't figured out how to bridge it over to people. So that then ties into the work that IASP is doing, specifically with the Global Patient Alliance, which I'm patiently trying to wait to get going. And I want to respect just all of the hard work that Colleen and Sarah and those have following post-Congress. But I'm really excited to see that process start. And then to bring, you know, the group that they pulled together, you know, Joe, yourself and the others, and really start to lay that framework. I'm kind of on the edge of my seat waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I think the IASP are playing catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think with the European Pain Federation, they've been sort of involving patients over the years gradually, and I think with where I've been involved in the European Pain Federation, the the pain school in Klagenfurt each year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been going out to. I must be coming up for 8 years or so. That I've been invited to go along and to talk to clinicians from around Europe.
Wow.
To talk to managing pain from the patient's perspective. But it's not. I just tell my story. I'm actually teaching them, giving them some ideas on how to talk to us, and pain self-management. So it's been a little bit of a mini workshop for me, and I can, because I'm there for the best part of a week, I've got that time to have a chat with them, have one-to-ones and stuff like that. And I think over the years I've done some videoing with them as well. And I think the work that Rajan does down in San Diego, where she's been doing it, I'm not sure how many years, but where she's been inviting, I think, Joe and some other people down there. I don't know if you're going there at all to San Diego.
I am. I'll be there in February. Yeah.
You'll be there. So fantastic. So I think will Joe be there?
Yes, she will.
So yeah. So you're going to go mob-handed and great. And a massive shout out for the San Diego pain conference there in February, and that the fact that there's other people out there, including us. Because I think we've always been, I always call it, we've always been the bridesmaid and never the bride.
Yeah.
The thing is, they sort of deal with us, but not involving us. I mean, it's bloody bonkers, isn't it?
It's a bit odd. It's really interesting to hear you say that, you've got about 7 or 8 years of experience of being somewhat engaged with being asked to present to these conferences. And it sounds like, at least from the UK and the European side, a little bit ahead of what we're seeing in North America, because really until IASP, there might have been some stumbling or ad hoc opportunities for patients to be involved, but maybe not to the level that you guys are seeing. So it's there's really an opportunity to connect all these things that are happening throughout the world and start to make it like a standard is what we're missing.
I think then in Australia they don't call us patients down there, they call us consumers. But they do have I've been, the last time, a couple of times I've been to Australia, that both times I've been involved within the Congress, but not. Oh yeah, tell us, like on this one, in this year, I was involved within the Congress. I did a little bit of a presentation, but I did a workshop prior to the Congress starting on the Sunday before. And the first time I went, they do have an event there for the consumers, but it was always prior to the actual Congress starting. So the Australians have been really good as well about involving us, So
right.
I think things are moving on forward, albeit sometimes for us it's not fast enough. But
well, and that's the thing, and one of the things that I know I need to try and remind myself is, after 30 plus years, I know change doesn't happen quickly, but I see it happening. I do find myself, especially after Boston, where it was such an engaging and empowering event, that I want to see all this in place, 2 weeks ago. And I know that's not realistic, but you hear, that's an excellent example. Australia's been quite leading the way in things. So there's a lot to learn from there. You mentioned Rajan's San Diego Pain Summit. 2019, I believe, will be her 5th year, and it's grown from, just a small conference that she pulled together onto her own, and it's still small and intimate, but truly an international conference as well. So the momentum's there. What I'm really hopeful, Pete, is that the world or the Patient Global Alliance is an opportunity for Joe and you, myself, and others who are invited to be there, to start to pull all these disparate ideas and harness all of that energy into one common goal forward and really kick this off.
I think what's I'm only assuming this. So I think what may have put them off in the past is that they've had bad experiences when they've actually involved people with pain.
Yeah,
bad experiences, and I have actually been to a few of those events myself, especially when the the stuff in Europe was happening. And
Yeah.
I remember there was a couple. I won't say where and when it was, but I felt sorry for these two pain doctors who came along to get us involved and all that. And, the Rottweilers were going. I think it was just people's frustrations going at them, and they was, you could see them sort of sitting back in their seats, thinking, "Bloody hell, what's going on here?" You know.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and my sense is IASP is this was a big step forward for them this year with 2018. I think you're right. I think they're kind of testing the waters a little bit. We've heard from clinicians, and I keep being reminded of when Jo was doing her workshop, and Chris Caldwell was there, and he's the doctor from Montana who does a lot of pain work, and he was so open in his his desire to help people, but he said the current model for clinicians isn't sustainable because they get met with a lot of just that anger and grief, and you and I both totally know where that comes from.
Yeah.
That just anger, and the outlet is often at the doctor, which is misplaced. But when they see that day after day in the clinic, they get to the point where, why do they want to carry on? Because they're trying to help people, but they can't. So
well,
yeah.
I think the thing, I don't know anybody who's had persistent pain for months or years. They would go around, they're happy souls, like, it grinds.
Exactly.
Yeah. It sucks a life, where you become a changed person.
Yeah.
And I think this pain meeting is where I was trying to involve patients from different patient groups from around Europe. That it was a bit of the meeting didn't go well, and I went up to the doctors at some point. I said, look, this is not a representative of people, like, it's just that they're
right.
you give them a platform, and there's someone to have a go at, like, but there are people like me out there who know what it's like to work the other side of the counter,
and I'm hopeful, and I think I don't think hopeful. I'm confident that IASP has been able to pull together the right group to start this Global Patient Alliance, because again, I look at the work that you do, and I so enjoyed your workshop, Pete. It's so engaging and empowering, and you find a way, because you and I both know one of the hardest things is to get that message through to people who live with pain, to get through that grief and the anger and the frustration and say that's all valid. And we talk about acceptance, right? We talk about acceptance, and acceptance isn't giving up and giving in. It's refocusing that energy, which might be anger, and saying, I'm going to refocus in that to what can I do to start to help myself, not abandoning their relationship with the healthcare provider, but saying, what's the role that I can do? Your workshop, I think, presented that beautifully and shows people that if you refocus some of that energy to yourself, you can find positive gains. So
I think we all learn. I mean, I learned loads from Jo on presenting information style and presenting style. And I always think, I'll be honest with you, I stole your one with the resilience.
The resiliency, yeah.
Yeah, with the rock with this little twig growing out, mini tree.
Yeah.
To me, and I showed that. I did a presentation the other week at the British Pain Society at the Bond talk, and because I think if I forgot about the resilience that we have to climb up out of the hole, really, that hole that we sort of jump into or pushed it sometimes. Some people feel like they've been pushed down a hole, but it's the resilience that we have to keep coming back, like, and someone said that to me when I was working where I worked in the NHS, and they give me some sort of it's like a bit of a wall, like, and they said that this is for you, that you never seem to give up. My job really in it is trying to engage the decision makers, to commission self-management programs within their format, sort of thing, So whenever it's a wonder I've got a nose left, because there's so many doors Someone sort of slammed in my face, like, you know.
Yeah.
This little plaque thing. Oh, what the hell was it? Around here somewhere. Little class thing. Oh, I can't. I know I saw it here the other day, but it was just a. And in your presentation, reminded me about that. It's about our resilience that we keep getting pushed back and whatnot, but it's about how we get back up again. And I remember my old boss, Gene Thompson, when I worked in the NHS, he said, you know, Pete, you know, learn more about yourself, not when things are going right, but when things are not.
Well, exactly. And there's a quote, and I can't remember who it's from, but you know, it's from you know, through chaos comes clarity. And I think often as we're going through a lot of these things, you do learn a lot about yourself and your resiliency and what you can do. And that's really important. I think one of the things to me is foundational and important to get across. And this was from my experience, so this is just my personal experience, is that validation from the healthcare system. I mean, this is a tough fight to begin with, but when you're constantly met with, like you say, those doors closing and doctors and clinicians saying, well, we don't really think it's that bad or it's real, it's really hard to get up the next day and deal with it. But when, even if they say, look, maybe we don't fully understand this, but we believe what you're feeling is real, that goes a long way in letting people not feel like they're being stigmatized or told they're crazy and all that. So I think there's some little wins that need to be achieved, but it's a lot of work still to get there.
Yeah, Keith, you talk about wins. I was at this week just passed, I was over in Eindhoven in Holland at an event called Games for Health.
Yes.
And there's about 150 pods there, I think. And I picked this up. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
The light bulb moment.
Oh, okay.
And I love that. It's like a tea mat or something like that. You put your mug on or whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
But it's the what I liked about the event was it was an event for. It wasn't people there talking about problems. They were talking about how. Well, they said they was flagging up the problems that the amount of people live with pain, and because it was in Holland, it was quite linked towards what's going on in there in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
They said that if they don't start getting people to self-manage their health better, that by 2040, half of a person's salary will be going towards healthcare. Yeah, and to me, and we both know that a lot of the healthcare, you know, the most daily reported health condition is pain, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was quite a staggering fact. But the thing was, I liked about the event was everybody was there looking for solutions in it, but how can we use things to engage people to become more active and become problem solvers and stuff like that, you know. And so that for me was a bit of an eye opener. And in fact, it woken some ideas that you know, because I don't know what, going back to my old boss, Gene, when I worked in the NHS, you know, people that sort of involved in self-management.
Yeah.
She said, we're all creative people. And
Yes.
we are. And I think we are, because we create something out of nothing. You know, we create this resilience. We create this moving forward stuff. Yeah, okay, I'm down, but I'm coming back again. We've got that creativity to move forward, come up with ideas. And I think that's where the medical profession is missing out on our creativity, on how we can create things to move on, you know, to self-manage, because I think that one of the things that they get fatigued, or we want to call it their kryptonite, is that they think they've got to come up with all the ideas all the time. And they don't. It's just, you know, we have to do majority of the work. So, go on, sorry.
And I was going to say, and I saw that really resonates with me, Pete. And again, I go back to hearing the comments that Dr. Caldwell made, and it made me realize that maybe it's Western medicine, I don't know, but you know, the medicine system that I know of. We've created where the clinicians are always expected to have the answers.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of unfair to put all that responsibility on one person to say, you've got to fix this. And I'm not saying that it's all our responsibility, but as people who live with pain, I think we find that balance between that and in that relationship. Exactly.
The teamwork. Teamwork.
Yep. And I think it goes right back to, probably day one of medical school, when, they can start teaching doctors and nurses and these clinicians that you're not expected to have all the answers, but maybe expected to be a guide to work with the patient to find what works for them. Because you and I both know there's some underlying fundamental things that work.
Yeah.
What works for you and what works for me might be slightly different, but they're based on these foundational things, which are acceptance and movement and exercise and, good social determinants of health and all that. You can't go to a doctor and say, solve all that on your own. It's not practical. And that doesn't surprise me that if we don't change this model, half of our money is going to go into our healthcare system and we're not going to be any further ahead.
And that's it. And that's it. Like, obviously, the drum that you're just banging there about the medical model is the one I'm always banging myself, because I suppose, I don't know if people are fed up with hearing it about it, but but I've got to keep banging it, because it's bonkers. The medical model that their people are trained in.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, I know there are exceptions to the rule where there are some schools out there have changed and whatnot. But it's still, when I asked healthcare professionals, I do polls and stuff like that on social media. Very few talk about pain self-management. It's something that I learn after they come out of their training, etc.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change until really that model changes, where they include pain self-management within that model.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the two wins in that are, it removes that direct responsibility and burden and stress on the clinician to have all the answers, because we know that's not practical. And they can catch people early on into their journey. And I don't like that term, but for lack of a better term, if we catch people early and say, here are some of the things you need to do to help yourself. And if you can start that sooner than later, where for me, it was, 20 plus years later that I started going down that road and then saw the results. That's a lot of time and money and stress and anger that was wasted going down the wrong path. So I think I bang the same drum that you do. And a lot of what I learned in Boston was seeing so much energy and focus from these people who are the doctors and the PhDs who are trying to find the solution. But part of it is saying, engage with people at the beginning. Yeah.
Hey, Keith, I don't want to impact on your Sunday any more than I have already, really. So
it's always a joy to talk to you, Pete.
I know, I talk to you. And I wish you well, and thanks very much for taking up part of your time on Sunday to do this. And I know we're going to have many more of this stuff, and myself and Joe, and perhaps we can, I don't know, hook in a few other dudes or something along the way. I know there's some other people there within the group, but I'll have to be Colleen up and see what's going on, and because we're keen to rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think we just we may have fallen off their radar a bit. I don't know, but I know they're busy people as well. But
yeah, I know. I can only imagine, like you said, the post-Congress windup must be just staggering amounts of work. But it sounds like they're starting to get some ideas pulled together, and I'm so excited to get an opportunity to work with you on this.
Yeah.
So.
Have you got take-home messages for the viewers, or got a message?
For anybody who lives with pain, I think the biggest message that I can offer them is know that it's real. And when you're dealing with, your primary healthcare providers who might not fully understand, it's not because they don't believe you most of the time. I think it's because they just don't know really understand how to deal with it. But foundationally, your pain is real. There are resources out there. Pete, your pain toolkit is excellent. There's other resources for people to start, in the absence of somebody giving them a solution, to start looking also on their own. So the pain toolkit. I'm a big fan of Pain BC here in BC, Canada. They've got great resources.
Yeah.
And that can start to open your mind and your eyes a little bit about what you can do to help yourself. But never give up. There's always a path forward.
And have we got to take our message for our healthcare professional friends?
For our healthcare professional friends, I think, again, it comes back to validating people. Even if you don't fully understand, because we know this is complex, Pete, we really know how complex it is, but to be able to just say to people, it's real. Maybe I don't have all the answers, but together we're going to figure this out. But don't dismiss people. Don't tell them it's all in their head, because the pain is real. And just allow them some space to be able to talk and tell you how they feel.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, it's been really good seeing you again. I'm just going to hit stop the record button in a minute, but if you hang around, we can have a little final chat and whatnot, okay? So, wish you well. Thanks for taking part, and I'll speak to you again. Take care.
Great.
Now.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao, man.